The rain fell in relentless sheets, drumming against the cracked pavement of the hospital parking lot. Sarah Coleman, soaked to the bone, clutched her cardboard box of belongings, a stethoscope, a faded name badge, a half-empty coffee mug. 20. Years as a nurse, and now at 42 she was jobless. The hospital's budget cuts had been merciless, and Sarah, despite her impeccable record, was deemed non-essential. She stood by her rusty sedan, the weight of the day pressing her shoulders, down. Her savings were thin, her rent was due, and her daughter's college tuition loomed like a storm cloud. Yet as she tossed the box into the back seat, her eyes caught a flicker of movement near the emergency entrance. A man staggered out of a taxi, clutching his chest, his face ashen. Sarah's instincts kicked in before her mind could catch up. She sprinted across the lot, her sneakers slapping puddles, and reached him just as he collapsed. "Sir, can you hear me?" she shouted, kneeling beside him. His pulse was erratic, his breathing shallow. Classic signs of a heart attack. She scanned the area. Nobody else was around. The ER was 100 yards away, and every second counted. Sarah began chest compressions, her hands steady despite the ache in her heart. "Stay with me," she whispered, counting the rhythm in her head. 1, 2, 3. She didn't notice the rain soaking her scrubs or the cold seeping into her knees. She didn't think about the pink slip in her pocket or the bills piling up at home. All that mattered was the man beneath her hands, a stranger whose life hung on her next move. A security guard finally noticed and ran to get help. Within minutes, paramedics rushed out, taking over. Sarah stepped back, breathless, as they loaded the man onto a stretcher and whisked him inside. She didn't wait for thanks. She didn't even know his name. Wiping rain from her face, Sarah trudged back to her car and drove home, the weight of the day settling deeper. Her apartment was a modest one-bedroom in a tired Cincinnati suburb, the kind of place where the walls were thin and the neighbors' arguments bled through. Her daughter, Mia, was at community college, studying late. Sarah dropped her keys on the counter, peeled off her wet clothes, and collapsed onto the couch. The silence was heavy, broken only by the distant hum of the city. She closed her eyes, wondering how she'd keep going. The next morning, Sarah woke to the sound of her phone buzzing. It was the hospital. Her heart sank. Had she forgotten something? In her haste to leave? "Ms. Coleman," the voice said, "you're needed back here. It's about the man you saved last night." Confused, she threw on jeans and a sweater, her mind racing. Had she made a mistake? Was there paperwork she'd missed? She drove back, the city waking up around her. Coffee shops opening, kids heading to school, life moving on while hers felt stuck. At the hospital, she was ushered to a private room. The man from last night, now stable, sat upright in bed, wires and monitors framing his grateful smile. His name was James Whitaker, a 55-year-old businessman from Chicago. Beside him stood a woman in a sharp blazer, her expression a mix of relief and urgency. "You're Sarah?" James asked, his voice hoarse but warm. She nodded, unsure. "You saved my life," he said. "I'd be dead if you hadn't been there." Sarah shrugged, embarrassed. "Just doing my job." "You weren't even on the clock." The woman, James's assistant Carla, cut in. "You'd just been let go, and yet you stopped. Why?" Sarah hesitated. "It's who I am," she said simply. "You see someone in trouble, you help." James's eyes softened. He gestured to Carla, who handed Sarah an envelope. "Open it later," he said. "And thank you." Sarah tucked it into her pocket, mumbled a goodbye, and left, her mind spinning. Back in her car, she tore open the envelope. Inside was a check for $50,000, signed by James Whitaker. A note read, "For your kindness. Use it well." Her hands trembled. It was more money than she'd seen in years, enough to cover Mia's tuition, the rent, maybe even a fresh start. But it felt surreal, like a dream she'd wake from. When she pulled into her apartment complex, her jaw dropped. 4 gleaming luxury cars, a sleek black Bentley, a red Ferrari, a silver Rolls-Royce, and a midnight blue Lamborghini, lined the curb outside her building. Neighbors gawked, Kids snapped photos, and Sarah's heart pounded. She parked and stepped out, half expecting a prank. Carla emerged from the Bentley, clipboard in hand. "Mr. Whitaker owns a car dealership chain," she explained, seeing Sarah's confusion. "He heard about your situation, losing your job, raising a daughter alone. He wanted to do more than write a check." Sarah blinked, speechless. "These are for me?" "Not exactly," Carla said with a smile. "They're part of a plan. Come with me." She led Sarah to a nearby coffee shop where James, now discharged, waited with a laptop and a proposal. Over steaming mugs, he explained, he was offering Sarah a partnership. His dealerships often supported community initiatives, and he wanted to fund a mobile health clinic, a van staffed by nurses to bring care to underserved neighborhoods. Sarah, with her experience and heart, would run it. The cars? A publicity stunt to draw attention to the project, donated by his company to be raffled off, raising funds to get the clinic rolling. "I don't know what to say," Sarah stammered. "I'm not a manager. I'm just a nurse." "You're more than that," James said. "You're proof that one person's kindness can change everything. Say yes, and let's make a difference together." Sarah's mind raced. She thought of Mia, who dreamed of becoming a doctor but worried about costs. She thought of the patients she'd seen over the years, turned away for lack of insurance. She thought of the man she'd saved, a stranger who now believed in her more than she believed in herself. "Okay," she said, her voice steady. "I'm in." The next few weeks were a whirlwind. The car raffle made headlines, drawing crowds and donations. Sarah worked with James's team to design the clinic, a state-of-the-art van equipped with medical supplies, staffed by volunteers she'd trained herself. Mia, home for the weekend, helped paint the van's logo, a heart encircled by hands. The community rallied, local businesses chipped in, and by the time the clinic hit the streets, Sarah felt a spark she hadn't known in years. The first stop was a low-income neighborhood where families lined up, some for their first checkup in years. Sarah took blood pressures, bandaged cuts, and listened to stories of struggle not unlike her own. A little girl, clutching a worn teddy bear, hugged her and said, "You're like a superhero." Sarah laughed, but her eyes stung. For the first time since losing her job, she felt whole. Word spread. The clinic became a beacon, not just for medical care, but for hope. Sarah hired other laid-off nurses, giving them purpose again. James visited when he could, his health improving, his smile brighter each time. One evening, as they wrapped up a long day, he pulled Sarah aside. "I was nobody to you," he said. "Just a guy on the pavement. But you stopped. That's why. This works because of you." Sarah shook her head. "It's because of all of us. You, me, the team, the people we help. It's bigger than one person." That night, driving home, Sarah passed the spot where she'd saved James. The rain had stopped and the stars were out. She thought of the check, now in a savings account for Mia's future. She thought of the clinic, already changing lives. And she thought of the cars, long since raffled off, their sparkle replaced by something far more valuable, a community reborn. As she parked outside her apartment, Mia was waiting, a textbook in hand. "Mom," she said, grinning, "I'm proud of you." Sarah pulled her into a hug, her heart full. 24 hours after losing everything, she'd saved a life, and in doing so, she'd found her own.